I'm sure you've heard this numerous times, that the mountains on the Big Island obliterate hurricanes, or because of them, hurricanes do not make landfall on the Big Island.
Yeah, this is something that even the University of Hawaii, some of the meteorologists there have researched in the past to try to find out what kind of deflective effect that the Big Island might have on tropical cyclones, because everybody likes to say, well, the Big Island's going to deflect a hurricane, it's not going to come toward us. What they did before ECEL was some of those scientists ran computer models to say, what if we have a hurricane circulation like Iniki or something like that, and bring it right toward the island. They can simulate the landmass of the Big Island and the height and how much land you have there, and then they can simulate the circulation of the hurricane and say, what do we think is going to happen? But what they found was that any deflective effect is really, really tiny. There's very little deflective effect, and if it is, it's just a few miles. Like they don't believe that deflective effect is enough to tell you that, well, the Big Island's safe. We can't get hit by a hurricane because the hurricanes will steer around it. Well, then in, I think it was 2014, we were presented with an actual hurricane that was heading right for the Big Island that pretty much totally ignored the Big Island. There was a little wiggle in the movement as it got close that we're not completely sure whether or not was something having to do with friction and the terrain, or whether or not that was due to shearing flows changing the steering layer for the hurricane. So the bottom line there is the hurricane came right on into the southeast side of the Big Island. ECEL made landfall. And then we did it again with Darby, a weaker low-end tropical storm. ECEL was almost a hurricane, high-end tropical storm. Both of those systems came right on into the Big Island with no appreciable deflective effect. And so what we're thinking is that there really is no significant deflective effect, and that people need to be aware that the island is just as prone to hurricanes as the Kauai side of the state. We don't want people to feel security there, that the mountains are going to steer it away or change the direction of the hurricane. If the hurricane's changing direction, it's more than likely due to another weather system which is impacting the hurricane, and it's probably just as large as or larger than the hurricane. So that's pretty much the bottom line there, is that we do not believe there's really a deflective effect at all. There's one question that we sometimes get, it's the reverse. Sometimes people will ask about, especially after ECEL, they said, well, does the Big Island protect us from hurricanes? Because if the hurricane hits the Big Island, then it's protecting us, the rest of the state. So it's like taking one for the team. What I tell folks is that we have seen systems like ECEL hit the Big Island and they get torn up pretty well. If the core of the hurricane goes right into the Big Island, which we don't want to happen, it's going to tear up the circulation a lot. But the islands are, the whole state is a really vulnerable target in the middle of the Central Pacific, and it would be like wearing a bulletproof vest that's too small. Any kind of protective effect that the Big Island provides for the smaller islands is really small and would only affect a hurricane coming in from a particular direction. We definitely know from Iniki and Eva and Nina and Dot and some other hurricanes that these approaches from the southeast like this are just one flavor of how you could get a dangerous hurricane up close to the Hawaiian Islands. And so, something coming from the southeast, the Big Island would, if the circulation goes right over the island, that would tend to tear it up, but only from a particular direction, and it would have to go right directly over the island to do that.
It is an interesting thought, because when a hurricane gets cut off from its fuel source, it weakens. But like you said, it would really have to, look at the size of that storm and the size of the Big Island.
Yeah, if the core goes right over the middle of the island, then it's going to do a number on the circulation. So like you said, it's cut off from its energy source, which is the ocean. And then it's also weakened and destroyed by friction. So those big mountains, Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa and Hualalai, that really does a number on tearing up the circulation. But it's only going to do that, it would only do that if a hurricane were to come directly over the island. So we tell people that all the islands are at risk in a given hurricane season, that there's really no one particular island that's like really safe. I mean, we know that the Big Island's been hit by damaging hurricanes. We know Kauai's been hit by damaging hurricanes, and we think everybody in between, given the right steering pattern or given the right weather pattern, that we could get damaging hurricane force winds anywhere over the state if the steering pattern was right, and we were, say, we had a situation where the hurricane wasn't weakening like an El Nino type situation.